Smith corks one into right, down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy.
Breeze hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night.
This is the Viva Alberto's podcast on SB Nation. Welcome into another episode of the Viva Alberto's podcast. Today we are bringing to you a very special Father's Day episode with some very unique guests. And first off with us today, I'd like to introduce a couple of special co-hosts that I have with me today. First off, I'll introduce writer for Scoops Network that covers the AA Springfield team, Andy Carroll. Andy did an episode with us before the season, and if you haven't yet, go back and listen. It's one of my personal favorites we've done so far, and you can also go and follow Andy and his work at Carroll_SGF on X. And with him today is his son, Noah. Andy, Noah, how are you guys doing today? Thanks for coming on and helping me out.
Good.
Hey, Jake, we're doing great. Thanks for having us again.
And also with us today is a very, very special guest. Not that Andy and his son Noah aren't special guests, but today with us we have manager of the AA Springfield Cardinals, Patrick Anderson. PA, man, how you doing? And thanks for joining us.
Awesome, man. Pumped to be on here and excited to be able to get this thing rock and rolling.
Skip, my first question for you is your journey as a coach that's led you to this point has taken you through many different stops, whether it be the college or the pros. Various college stops as you can find on your baseball reference page. You've also worked in the Royals and the Nationals farm system as well. When trying to establish a connection with young players, what is a strategy that you find most effective to kind of build that relationship with that player so you can kind of get that better buy-in for what you guys are trying to teach?
Well, the biggest thing is I've been fortunate where I've been around a bunch of organizations that are very fundamentally based. Obviously with the Royals, I was there for 10 years, the Nationals 10, and then now with the Cardinals, those are three organizations that have, done it from the ground level up, for the longest time. And the foundation is the fundamentals, and that's where it starts with the younger level, the early stages of playing the game. For one thing, having fun, enjoying themselves, being exciting, having some excitement in a game that's a tough game. It's a tough game. Sometimes they'll watch at certain levels at certain times, but as a whole, it's a lot of fun if you can really understand how to play it and really get the fundamentals, taught to these young kids with some excitement. And, it's the same thing we do. At our level, we just have a little bit stronger, bigger kids, more developed, but yet the big foundation is started from that little league level. So that's why I'm excited to be able to talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's something too where you've probably heard me say that before. Know that baseball is a hard game, right?
Yeah.
And so it is to your point. You see a lot of what comes. You're at the receiving end of kind of the youth and the high school and the collegiate ranks, but. What would you say? What are the biggest advice tips you would give to a young player? You got one sitting in front of you.
Yeah. To start off with, just enjoying the game, have fun, and understanding what that means. I think there's some parts of it is respectful and understanding of the game. When I say respect the game, it's playing the game right, hustling, understanding what that means. We have young kids that are learning the emotional part of it. It's part of the game. It's part of life. So, the biggest advice is just, there's a handful of layers of this. It's just the biggest thing is just enjoying themselves, being respectful of themselves, learning how to be a good teammate. And then, listen to people's advice and learning from that. It's tough because we're lifelong skills. We talk about this every day of like how you go about your business, and learning it from a young level is just, the parenting part of it. I think that's so important that these kids wake up, they make their bed, eat the right things, drink the right things, prepare themselves every day, whether they're playing baseball or not. So, the basic fundamentals of all that type of stuff is what we live with and what we learn from a daily, process. So I think it's really cool that baseball has a lot of correlations, and hopefully we can be able to get these kids to understand what that means and understand how the game can be able to help them out in life.
And maybe to an extent further, what would your message be to parents of kids at that youth level that maybe they want it a little bit more than the kids do? So like whenever I played on teams where the kid was just kind of there because like his parents wanted him to play, but he didn't necessarily have that spark and that light inside him to want to play. Like he enjoyed these kids enjoyed baseball, but they didn't really want to play it all that much. Not at like an advanced super competitive level, but the parents were always pushing them. What would kind of your message be to like those parents that, push really hard, maybe to a degree where it kind of hurts the child's kind of light and excitement when it comes to playing the game?
Well, to start off with, it's been wild because myself and my wife, she's a coach at softball at Mizzou, and then obviously being in baseball for a long time. Our dedication is to our players, and those are our kids. So with that said, we'd never want to ever tell a parent how to be able to be a parent, and that's number one. But to get where you're talking about, what we've seen is the evolution of how the parents want so much for their kids, and wanting it so much for the kids is really kind of secondary, because the kids are really learning and going through hard times in a hard sport. I even find myself looking at this game, and I turn to our pitching coach and I'm like, hey, so-and-so's struggling. Oh, he just doesn't look right. And he turned to me and he goes, yeah, that was 97 miles per hour with some crazy movement on it. And I sat back and I go, yeah, let me realize that it's a hard sport. So what I'm getting at is that, to help out with parents and just the maturation of this game, and to be able to help out with the kids understanding what they need to be able to do on a daily basis, for me is being positive, but being real and understanding how because they've been around their kids every day, give them that rope to fail. Let them fail. Ask them what's going on. Communicate to them. Let them learn on their own. That's the hardest thing to do these days, because so many people are hands-on with everything. They want so much for their kids. They want to do this. They want to help. But in doing all this, it's not really helping the young man or young lady. So I feel that just letting them play, identifying, watching, listening, and then the field tactics of coaching and being a parent, we all know, is tough, because it's a timing of when you say things, and sometimes it's not the good timing. It just needs to be said. Sometimes it's how you say things. And the other parts is teaching your young kids on how to be able to receive that information. We all know. So I laugh because I go back to, you tell your kids to make their bed every day, but you want them to make it on their own rather than telling them. By the time we tell them, it's already too late. But some people show them, or actually do make the bed all the time, rather than, hey, you need to make the bed. How do we get them to make the bed? How creative we can be able to get it, and also for them to buy in. So that's like the evolution of everything I see with whole life, let alone hitting a baseball and throwing the ball over the plate. So the elongated answer to this thing is just being patient, understanding the feel for your kids, and understanding that they're going to make a lot of mistakes, being positive, being real with them, and letting them figure it out. Like the whole schoolyard baseball, backyard baseball is lost. Everything's, handed to them. They want to give things to them. And I don't fault that. I want to give the best to my kid that I didn't have. But it's gone to the extreme of the kids not understanding how to be able to earn things on their own at times and go through the hardship. And those tough conversations are always tough because it's your son or your daughter. But allowing them to be able to learn from their failures and be able to communicate that way, I think is huge. And that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg, because we can go down a rabbit hole with all this, because I've seen a lot of different ways in communication, and it's hurt a lot of these kids rather than more so helping them in a sport that's very, very hard.
Well, I'm glad you said that about, letting them learn to fail, because I know that, and we've talked about this a little bit before. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, PA, because, like me, I think you grew up playing at a time where, our parents didn't video all of our bats, right? So like when we're at a game, they don't have the ability to go back and look at it like the Zapruder film and say, see, look, you're going around the ball, or you're not firing your hips at the right time. And I think one of the things that's been a struggle for me, as a coach and as a parent, with all of these tools that are available. And it's kind of just funny, because if you think of a lot of the analytics and the tools that are helping your guys at the highest level make those adjustments, I think some ways it almost can do the opposite a little bit at the youth stage, where, I'll just share this story. There was, something where I could tell in a swing I wanted to fix, that maybe we're going around the ball. And so I search on YouTube and I find a drill that makes sense to me. And I say, hey, that'd be good. I'm going to show Noah how to do that. And then what ends up happening to me is every social media account that I have, the feed is now loaded with reels of do this drill, try this approach. Here's a product that can fix this. And so much of, I think, what parents and coaches are exposed to is, it's pumped to you. Here's a way to try and help them not fail. Right.
Yeah. I totally understand. I mean, you're trying to search for something to help your son or your daughter, whoever is that parent. And you're trying to find out what's good for them, what works for them. That's the process that everybody's talking and trying to be able to figure it out. So for me, the biggest advice with that is just, trying to do some education. So there's so many people out there, like, I don't even want to bring names, but there's their Teacher Mans, there's your Jeff Fry's, there's all these venues and social media outlets of people giving information. It's almost clouding. The biggest advice that I could ever give is really, what are the basic fundamentals? I'm going to give a short story about this, and it really hit home to me, even at the minor league level and it'll tail into to the answer of what I think is. I watched my nephew at 8 years old play basketball, and the coach amazed me. All he did was teach them how to dribble, pass, chest pass, two-handed pass, one-handed pass, rebound, active feet, active hands, playing defense. He never once taught them how to shoot a basket. And he talked about every fundamental there was in basketball. And I watched this team progressively get better. He brought excitement. He brought creativity, ways of doing all these basic fundamentals that are like drills that you need to be able to keep doing and maintain and give enhance. It might be boring for them, like playing catch. It might be boring but he was very creative with that. And those basic fundamentals showed the team and how they progressed. And he did not once talk about pretty much just shooting a basketball, hitting threes and all that type of stuff, even though you see in the NBA, these guys are hitting threes from half court. And that's the name of the game. It's almost a correlation of baseball, like hitting home runs. I don't think we should talk about hitting home runs, even though people are giving out the home run chains and everybody hit a home run. And you see all these pictures on social media.
Measuring exit velocities already.
That and having balls hold up in their hands of hitting home run balls. And it's like, I have not seen a video or a picture on social media of a defensive glove play defensively or base running play. I have not seen that posted anywhere. It's always been the home run ball. So we all love this, the sexiness of the home run. It's great. But what's the process of doing everything fundamentally sound that can help you out win ball games? So I think that the answer to that is really staying true to understanding how to teach the fundamentals of catch play, how to be able to put themselves in a good hitting position to see the ball, how they can be very aggressive, and how they can be able to stay on the ball with as much balance as they possibly can. And just make hard contact and battling and competing. Those are just the basic fundamentals that I think we lose. We pretty much put the cart before the horses and get excited about the home run and hitting balls out. And ultimately, that's not the process to be able to get better in this game. So I'm a pure fundamentalist, and I really teach that here. And we pound away, even though there's a lot of technology that we have, but we've really done a good job, I think, of teaching the fundamentals. And I think the world needs to really kind of revamp and get back to that.
Noah, do you want to jump in with a question?
Yeah, so I have two things to say about that. So, you were talking a while ago about how, you were watching a video of this 97-mile-per-hour pitch that had a bunch of movement on it, and you were saying that this hitter, he couldn't hit the ball. So what would you say to kids who are on, people who are on, slumps and need to get out of that, build up from it? What would you say to them to, help them get out of that?
Okay, so I don't ever believe in slumps. I cannot stand that word. We're going to eliminate that word. Okay. But I understand where you're coming from with the question. So yeah. I believe it's a mentality more than anything. If you think about it, you get one hit out of every 3 at-bats. You're hitting 333. You get 3 hits out of every 10 at-bats. You're hitting 300. It's very hard to do this. So there's 7 times that you're getting out, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes more than that. And it feels like it's a lot more than you're getting the success. So to help out with this is how we can be able to get the young players to understand what works for them. Are you seeing the ball? Are you in a position to see the ball? Do you have the concentration? That's the biggest thing for young kids. The concentration to work every day on what process that is fundamentally to get better. So the answer is, okay, you're going to have to challenge yourself to feel like $1 million, to be consistent of, all right, I got my load or my timing and my balance. Can I see the ball? All right. And we slow it down. We put a ball on the tee. Then we front flip it to you. Really soft, right?
Yeah.
And we do the same thing we do off the tee. Slow, load, and my balance. Am I able to see it? And take a full swing and see how balanced we can be. Basic fundamentals.
Yeah.
Boring, right? It might be boring. It
Yeah.
sounds
And-
boring. You
yeah.
might be losing your mind right
Yeah.
now thinking about it. Then you start getting to where it gets faster. And then you're challenging yourself. But you're doing the same thing you did off the tee and off of front toss. Now it's harder.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be harder if you're doing the same.
If you're doing the same things, right?
Exactly.
And
right.
like you were also saying, like you only seeing pictures of home run balls and stuff, and then you were saying like you don't have any pictures of like the defensive plays. They should do that because you have to win in defense to go do those hitting things. Like you have to win in the defense to go do the hitting.
Exactly right. I wish your teammates and everybody your age can be able to have that same mentality.
Yeah.
So it's important. This game is two sides. When I have a catcher that's an unbelievable player, he's going to play in the big leagues.
Yeah.
You know, he had a little bit of a mishap on a ball that got by him. It happens. He had not the best game offensively, but then suddenly he made one play that was huge for us. One play at the end of the game that was huge for us to win the game. So he didn't allow the things that went wrong.
In his head.
Exactly right. So it put himself in a position that he could be successful.
Yeah.
But at the younger age, he might have been like, felt bad for himself. It gets worse. And then he didn't put himself in that position to be
Didn't get to
successful.
the position.
I want to jump back in with one question before I get back to you, Jake. Is and I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but the kids, as you call them, that you're managing now here at the AA level, for many of them, I think I've always been kind of told that by an old sports writer who I think was dead on that the AA level is kind of the crossroads of professional baseball. It takes a lot to get here. You had to show something to somebody, a scout, a college coach, to get to this point. And then that funnel really starts to narrow as you get up to the big leagues. And so when you think, I'll use JJ, Weatherholt as an example. Here's someone at the college level that was hitting 400, the best bat in the NCAA. And as you get, higher up in the professional ranks, you get to AA, you're probably encountering, not that he's never failed or had to work through failure, but now you're starting to get to where, to get to a 300 average, to get to a 315 average is the same amount of work, that you're putting in, and you're having to deal with that failure that you talk about. Well, it starts to feel like it's longer between each, successful outcome. How do you kind of manage those guys who are encountering maybe for the first time, some real resistance in the competition they're facing?
Well, for us, we try to be able to, get as much information, hands-on, not to say hands-on, but just being around that individual and seeing how his personality is when he deals with some failure. We kind of keep our eyes open and our ears open to see how he deals with it, lets him talk. Don't try to overload him with information and just seeing how he is, especially us getting to know him early on, because he hasn't had too much failure, because he's been so successful, like you said. JJ's a great example. He's consistent every day of who he is. His process, his work beforehand is unbelievable, and you could just tell he's different how he handles success and he handles failure in the same way. He's very consistent. So that's like the difference between somebody really talented, really close to talent level, and him getting over the hump. That's what it's like. Those guys being consistent with that. He's been unbelievable with that.
And then I think probably for the young kids to hear, you mentioned going, when you're not feeling right, you go back to the tee, then you go back to the front toss. It's the same thing for these guys. They're probably going back to the fundamental basics at the beginning when they're searching for something that's not right.
It is. A lot of people nowadays want the magical pill and the drill and give me the answer and fix me. That's not it. It's what has worked for you. Now, there are some slight adjustments, and then there's some things that we can use, like a video, how we can utilize that video. Videotaping somebody when they're going well, what are they doing? Are they getting good pitches? Are they consistent about their process? Are they feeling what they're doing? and they're able to repeat that. So like to use those resources is great to identify, hey man, you were swinging. We have a statistic saying that you're swinging at too many breaking balls, that's tail end out of the zone early on the count. This is what you were doing when you were good. This is what you're doing when you're bad. So utilizing the technology is really important. That's what we've done with those type of players. But the emotional control, the consistency of what they need to do every day, especially like a JJ, it's going to allow those players to be really good.
I did kind of want to go back to, though, maybe the topic I brought up earlier. If you're getting a lot of video at this level, you're probably prepared to see a lot of that. If you're getting it at the age 9, age 10, age 11, and you're seeing a lot of video and you're getting all this feedback, I think sometimes, there can be too many voices, I'm sure.
Convolution, that's what I say. It's very convoluted, clouded at times. But, again, that's understanding your son. Like, you know your son better than you. And so what he can be able to do, my challenge would be, okay, he's impressing me because his attention span is really good at his age. Right now it's tough. My question being around him would be, okay, is he a listener? Does he understand? All right. Is he able to understand what this is? And has that concentration. And from there, how do we build that confidence and yet only do it simple-minded stuff like, there's times that we say, do we really need to show this video to this guy? It's probably too much for him right now. We'll wait till maybe after his rookie level year to really show him what he needs. So just getting to know the individual and understanding how not to be able to overload them and really asking questions. They'll give you the answers crazy as a coach. We talk about as parents, like it's just, hey, what do you got? And then your kid so well. I know what he's got. And then you try to trick them sometimes, at times to get them to do what you want them to do.
Reverse psychology.
It needs to be their idea. But I guess the answer, not to be long-winded too much, but just to really be simple with it. Show them a video, but understand when the timing is and what to show them so they can concentrate and then move on. Let's see if we can work on it.
Yeah. So first off, I wanted to give you just a little bit of a congratulations, PA, on your advancement to AA this season. You're getting your first taste of managing at the AA level this season. What's been the biggest adjustment for you as a game manager so far as you continue to kind of ascend further up the ladder? And can you kind of speak to a little bit more of like the principles and stuff that we talked about earlier and how they continue to apply even now at the AA level?
For me, it's just I laugh because it's AA. It's more of an adult conversation when we're talking about baseball and life. I don't have to tell these guys as much to be on time. They've been through the be on time speeches and how you go about your business speeches. It's been more of the main maintenance and upkeep of just, hey, baseball 102, 103 of what we need to be able to do to be prepared at the big league level because they're right around the corner. So the answer to that it's been a fun challenge for me to be able to have some difficult conversations of just, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is the preparation, to where the A-ball levels, it's, hey, you need to understand and be on time. You got to make sure you're here. You got to make sure you're handling things as a professional, teaching them how to be a professional. Now they're at the level where they can understand what being a professional is. Now it becomes the intricacies of the game. And that's a lot more fun and challenging for me. So it's a little bit easier on that end, to be honest with you. The AA level, I guess, it's just better overall talent every day. And the grind to be able to handle Texas League is a little bit different.
And, to that point, you've got a really talented group you're in charge of right now. And, it's got you guys at the time of this recording in first place of your division. How fun has it been to watch a lot of the organization's top young talent perform on a nightly basis? And to a further extent, how excited should fans here in St. Louis be about the future of the Major League team as this kind of current group or crop of talent you're managing right now kind of continues to ascend its way up the ladder as well?
Like I said, when I was with the Nationals, I was in the Royals. I was able to see the Salvador Perez's, and Moustakas' and Hosmer's grow up and come through the organization and win, and were really successful. I did the same thing when the Lucas Giolito's and the Harpers and all those players came through the Nationals, and I'm seeing it right now with the Cardinals of the Mason Woods and the J.J. Witherholts, the Chase Davises, the Crooks, the Bernals. I mean, there's so many players, and the fun part is we got a lot of players that are like your your Donovans, your Churches, Nathan Church. Like, we have a really good group, and we're putting some things together that I think is fun to watch. So it reminds me of those organizations that I was with, and to be a Cardinal is a special thing because it's such good tradition. And I think there's a lot of things we're getting back to, but we're also enhancing some of the nuances of the game. So I think we're going to have our cake and eat it too. I think it's really cool for Cardinal Nation to be able to see some of these young prospects, especially at this level. It's really awesome.
And then my final question for you today, Patrick, and thank you once again for your graciousness of your time. We know that a new regime is taking over here in St. Louis between Chaim Bloom and Rob Serfolio and Matt Pierpont. And, you kind of go down the list of names that the organization has brought in over the last calendar year. What has the communication been like between you and the newer members of the front office? And can you kind of talk to a little bit about just how that conversation is going and basically, what are the differences you're noticing from a year-over-year change to kind of the newer voices?
It's for one thing, they're very smart, like very, very smart and progressive in regards to what they want to implement. And there's just different avenues that we're not used to. Obviously, we're, the Cardinals, coaches that we've been here for the last, I don't know how many years, myself 4, but like the other guys longer than myself. But we're learning, the nuances of technology really to go implement it in a structured way that really enhances what we have. So that's a plus for us, and really kind of there's more hands, that are helping. We have rovers that we've implemented. We have catching rover. We have a field coordinator. Infield coordinator is going to be a part of it as well, and pitching coordinators, and the whole pitch design and understanding how we can be able to learn the shapes of pitches a lot better through technology has really enhanced us and really kind of moved us forward. And it's really opened our minds to what is out there and how we can be able to get our players better. It's a cool jump start for us. They say reset. I think it's just a push forward in a direction of putting together the fundamentals of what the Cardinal way is or was and still is, to what the nuances of the game presents, and trying to find that happy medium. It's been a breath of fresh air with a lot of things. There's a lot of learning involved as well, and especially for myself, of making sure I'm up to date with my information so I can be able to present the best to these players so we can get them better.
I apologize. I do have just one more quick follow-up. At the major league level, we're seeing the team have, a tremendous amount of energy, and it seems like as a result of the new direction that the organization is going, it's generated this energy within the players at the major league level. Are you guys, even down in AA, feeling that same type of energy and, advancing of opportunity, like coming to you more quickly?
As a whole, the organization is really excited. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I say this, it's not the new versus the old. It's not that at all. It's a collaboration. I think there's a cool direction of where we're going, and there is some energy with everything. From the big league level, it's been awesome to watch. Hey, we won again, didn't we? We were seeing our games in left field in the old school scoreboard, which I think is so awesome to see every day. It shows the score, and once they keep popping up runs on our side, I mean the big league club, it's a good feeling as we progress in our game to see that. So the energy is felt. We're trying to be able to get this as a unit, move forward, and really kind of enhance our players, enhance ourselves to get better. So it's been awesome. Yes, it has.
Well, hey, Jake, I just had one more. Maybe we could kind of sneak in with this last minute here with the Father's Day theme, since I know this is coming out on Father's Day. But, one of the things that I think makes baseball such a special sport generationally, one thing that fans don't know necessarily about Patrick that he's told me is I think he started out a soccer player. So, and Noah sitting here over next to me plays hockey as well. And I know that those are sports. I mean, you need a field and a ball, to play soccer. And a lot of times with Noah, when he's playing hockey, I tell him, hockey is a game. Even when you turn on, the playoffs now, you'll have teams talking about playing desperate, having a desperate style of play. It's all effort and kind of a battle of wills. baseball is so much of a mental game, and I think maybe fathers, understand it for the first time when you sit down and you have to explain a force out from a tag play and, show them how to fill out a scorecard and all the different nuance that goes into baseball. What do you think that, because I think that for me is why it stitches the generations together so well. But in your mind, Patrick, kind of as you chose baseball as a career path for you, what stood out and made it the sport that, you wanted to center your life around?
Well, to tap into what you said earlier, I think all young kids should play as many sports as possible to gain as much information of just their body movements, team collaboration, the ups and downs of different, ways that different sports are. I think it's awesome. But to answer your question is really, for me, it's just I'm trying to grasp on how baseball is nowadays. You know what I mean? And I think it's cool for me. I don't mean to branch off from your question. I might have to go back to ask me that question again because my brain went somewhere else of just watching you and your son. I get excited because a lot of Sundays, we have day games. And a lot of times I look out there and it's not just the father, son, but majority of times it is. You see the mothers out there playing catches with their son as well, or daughters. And just having that connection is so important. It's so huge. And I think it's really cool because it's a family-oriented sport that everybody goes out there and they bring their coolers and they're kind of set up to watch their son and daughters play. And it's a fun thing to be able to do on a day that's really nice. I mean, sometimes we have to deal with the weather. It's a little crazy. That comes into play as well. So, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but just as a whole for the theme of what we're talking about and the father-son situation and the fun part of that is, for me as a coach, as I sit back and watch and I start looking at our players and their relationship with their fathers and understanding how that brings this sport brings it together, I think it's really cool, and I think it's awesome. And I think it needs to be more of that, not to get into too much, but there's some people that have a father present, some people don't, but just having that mother out there in that situation was just as awesome, dear to my heart as well. So that's why I get excited about it. This podcast, I think it's really important that everybody understand that it's great for these young kids to have that mentor in a sport like this. And it's really cool to be able to see, not just on Sundays, but as much as we possibly can through this sport. So hopefully that kind of got you in the right direction of where you're going.
Yeah.
Well, to end on a high note, I can see in your closet bathroom area, we can see that you have a bunch of shoes. Do you like a bunch of shoes?
I am a shoe person. Yes, I've ordered about 3 pairs in the last 2 weeks. So yes, I am a shoe connoisseur.
Nice.
You have to take some tips from them.
Yeah.
Got to look good, right?
Yep.
Patrick,
awesome.
Thank you so much for your graciousness and your time. I can't begin to tell you and thank you enough for, coming and hopping on and saying yes to Andy and doing this. And, for all the parents out there, me specifically, even being a father to 2 young kids, learned a lot and will try to do my best to apply what, your thoughts and what you kind of imparted here as well. So just thank you for taking the time to talk to us, and for all of the listeners out there. Hopefully they are able to glean, just something to use to be more applicable for them and their relationship with their child, that whether it be in sports or just in everyday life, like you said, just being there and being present and being open and available for them whenever they do fail. And they always know that they have that parental figure to lean back on whenever they may experience their own types of trials and tribulations. So just thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well.
And hopefully, yeah, for sure. And maybe we can touch base again in the off season, Patrick, when things are a little slower, and we can kind of, do a little more of a team focused digest of the season and kind of your thoughts on that as well. So,
that'd be great. Anytime.
Appreciate it. And Andy and Noah, thank you guys so much for helping me out. I appreciate it. My typical co-hosts aren't exactly fathers yet, so I didn't think it was quite applicable to have their perspectives on this episode. That's why I had to bring in some big guns, but
they'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, for their sake. It's an incredible experience to be a father. So For Patrick Anderson, manager of the AA Springfield Cardinals, for Andy Carroll, for Noah Carroll, my name is Jake Wood. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful Father's Day. We'll talk to you again next week. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Viva Albertos podcast. Please leave a rate and review on your favorite platform and turn on those bell notifications so you can be notified the moment our newest episode is released. As always, make sure to give us a follow on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Facebook. Just type in Viva Albertos on any platform to find us. Have a great day and thanks for listening.